Right, live again with it's not the weekly wrap-up, it's the annual wrap-up, Road World Championships with the expert Jeremy Maartens and myself, Steve, with a cup of coffee. Jeremy, you got your coffee? You've already had 11 or... Oh, there we go. Lovely little black polka dots. A super exciting World Champs, a surprising one. Lots of nervous anticipation from lots of the nations about what it would mean, how it would work, how it would go. I think the fact that we're going to have the conversation that we're going to have today is a sign that all the logistics, all the route prep, all the things that people thought were going to go wrong because it was in Africa, well, none of that was an issue. It was all about how hard that circuit was.
Unless you Remco Evenepoel.
Yeah, then you'll find a million excuses why, and he blamed equipment and everything else. But I had this conversation on my ride this morning. Everyone's moaning about Remco, yet that took a gold and a silver.
Yeah.
You know, who else has a gold and a silver? No one.
Pogacar.
Pogacar got one gold. He got one gold in the fourth place.
Sorry. Correct, yes. Jay Vine was
he did better than Pogacar, which is... And the pressure from the Belgian guys is so high that they go, oh, he's rubbish because he got second at World Champs on the road and first in the time trial. Like the guy he's a prima donna, and some people love him, some people hate him. I think he's cool. He's got ego that goes with it. It makes a storyline. But anyway, we've got lots to talk about with our South Africans, and I've got a list of questions I'm going to try to go through. But before that, Jeremy, welcome to it. How are you doing?
Okay, so actually, both of us have been under the pump the last week or two, so we haven't been able to touch bases. I'm getting a bit nervous here, like, okay, is my hair right? Okay.
Is it going to be a year down the line before we do it again? That's always what goes through my head. If I let it slip for 1 week, then it's going to be 1 year later, I'm going to go, oh, we never did it.
But anyway, here we are. We can tackle some good parts, some parts that need attention, and all in the benefit of South African road cycling as always. That's why we do the majority of these conversations, is to illustrate the status of South African road cycling. There's lots of positives and there are points of improvement.
Yep, absolutely. Talking about that, just got to say, well done, high five on your hosting the Provincial Criterium Champs. That was a cool day. Yeah, the guys enjoyed it. Some hot racing out there. And talking about that, we've got SA Criterium Champs coming up, and I think we are T-minus 5 weeks.
Yeah.
First weekend in November, we're going to be hosting that at Stain City. So it's a SA Criterium Festival. Saturday would be the Gauteng School Cycling Provincial Criterium Champs, first ever for them. And then the Sunday will be the SA Criterium Champs, which you're hosting. So, amazing
I think that's
work
going to be
being out there. Well done, Jeremy.
Yeah, like the people who are watching this, they don't really know or understand the work that's going on in the background. Got almost residents in Stain City, speaking to the powers that be and making things happen. Guys, there's a lot of things happening. This is going to be a very special weekend. And I'm hoping that this is going to change the face of the style and the perception of criterium racing going forward. And this format is what South African cycling dearly needs. And we're going to touch on that just now.
Awesome. Okay. So let me get busy with it. I'm going to start with the questions and we'll jump straight into it. Jeremy, you've seen South African cycling evolve over the years. What was your general impression of our riders' performance at this event? What's your general perception of it? And you're allowed to shoot in all directions. I know we've had lots of conversations in the background, and should we say this? Should we? I think you should shoot it straight.
So I'm going to try and be as diplomatic as possible because I know every single rider that went there did the best that they could, and everyone's prepared the best that they possibly can, and everyone went there to go deliver the best that they could. But there are a few glaring points of improvement. So let's start off with the positive. The junior boys rode fantastic. Josh Johnson, I mean, we all know the team that he rides for, Grenko Auto Erdo. That's the junior development feeder team for Red Bull Hansgrohe. I mean, to get a multiple year contract with those guys, they don't see you as some tin kicker, so he's really good. And I think For me, he really proved that in the road race. He had Nicholas van der Merwe. We will talk about him as well. He races for Bulgaria, but he's a Pretoria boykie. The road race, he was in the move. Him and the American, the guy with the coolest name, it'll come to me just now. They animated the race for a large majority of the time. And every time you look at the points of interest in the race, all the pinch points, Josh was always there near the front, not on the front, but always surfing and floating. And then 2 laps to go when the pressure really started coming on. Boom, he was there. The bit that I saw, second wheel, third wheel, I thought, yes, here we go. Josh is on a good day. But then as the race progressed, find himself moving further and further back. And then, chatting to a couple of guys afterwards, got a cramping issue. And managed to get himself through the line.
Yeah, the weather conditions seem to play a little bit there as well because of the heat, the humidity, and the style of the course as well. It just seemed to be repeated, short, difficult, bumpy climbs. That's it. And every time they had a climb, they had like a 180-degree turn to get onto it. So the speed was slowed down. They weren't getting onto those climbs at top speed either.
So, I think Josh had a bloody good road race. Also, something that we also need to bring into this equation and factor that he's a first-year junior. For guys like us, 1 year in your life is a blip on the radar. But when you're 17 years old, 1 year out of a 17-year-old is a fair significance. So he's got another year to grow, develop, improve, get better. And it's looking good for 2026 for the young man.
Yeah. So without going into too many details yet on the individuals, the overall performance of South Africa, I know you don't want to say too much on the negative side, but what's your perspective? Did South Africa do well, or do the results show we still have a long way to go?
Oh, we've got a hell of a long way to go. There's no doubting that. And not to be the stick in the mud, I just want to put things in perspective here. In any discipline, be it time trial or road race, each nation is only allowed X amount of riders. Look at that in the time trial. You're only allowed two riders per nation. So if you do find yourself in position X, that doesn't mean that you are position X in the world. It just means on the day there were X amount of riders. You finished in X position. But so some of the guys in the time trial, I was really impressed with Byron. Running 20th in the time trial, Pedri 19th, and Josh Dyke 23rd. Not shabby, but also not lingering around the back. Also, I think it's important to also keep this in perspective. At under 23 World Time Trial Champs, I'm talking 2 decades ago, we've had 2 riders on the podium, David George and James Perry. So 20 years ago, we as a nation were standing on the podium at World Champs. So it's not this unfathomable thing that it can't be done. It can be done, and it has been done.
And I'm going to add something in there, and I'm going to try and manipulate the questioning around this to come up with a bigger philosophical answer. Mountain bike World Champs, we got 2 medals. One in the under 23 women with Tyler Jacobs, a bronze medal. And we got a gold with Alan Hathaway. That put us into rankings at 9th in the world in the mountain biking. The structure, relatively predictable type racing, 1 hour absolutely flat out, so you can train that type of thing. Whereas road racing obviously is a little bit different. There's multiple variables which can happen within it. And you are up against massive funded riders, massive funded federations, those types of things. But nonetheless, our mountain biking, obviously a big aspect of cycling in South Africa, getting 2 medals, ranking 9th in the world because of that gold medal from Alan and the bronze from Tyler. In road, we don't have a single medal, telling. And I mean, there's a lot. It says a lot because overall, the goal of a world champs or an Olympics is always medals. That's the bottom line judgment of the thing, and it's the harshest side of the judgment. But there's a lot of things outside of that which could be part of the goals. It could be development of riders, could be a strategy for coaching, and that's sort of the angle I'm pushing towards here. Because you look at someone like in the mountain biking, I'm going to take a guess because I don't actually know how many people he's coaching, but in the mountain biking, there are probably more than 50% of the top 20 riders in most of the categories are coached by a certain Barry Austin or have been coached at some point in time. And that centralized philosophical approach and control point often makes a big difference to things. I mean, even Pauline Ferrand-Prévot was coached by Barry Austin. It's incredible. And we don't really have that centralized type control in the road cycling. I don't know of anything. Is there anything there?
No, not in South Africa. Oh, sorry, the guys at Science to Sport do seem to be quite involved with a lot of the top tier road riders in South Africa. You got the likes of John Wakefield and the likes of Jeroen Swart, but John is more focused at Red Bull and Jeroen more on the UAE side. They're already dealing with the high level riders in the world of cycling.
This is, I think, part of my point of discussion here is we have the people. We have the people, we have the IP, we have the ability, we have the track record. But within cycling, do we have any strategy that brings that into South African racing? I don't know. I mean, I'm asking everyone else out there if there is something. I'd love to know what it is. But as far as I know, it doesn't exist. I mean, Jeroen Swart had a medical for UAE. John Wakefield, like he's got a track record of note in coaching. And yet we've got not a single medal in World Champs for South Africa. And I just asked the question. It's like I don't have the answer for it, but it's something we've got to be aware of.
Definitely. Steve, this is a very open-ended debate, and we can spend days and days and days talking about this. But from my opinion, if you backtrack it, you take a step back, the likes of Jeroen, the likes of John, and the likes of Barry, they're dealing with the world's top end guys. Now, those top end riders have been fed through a system. They've got to a point. They can make services of some of the best guys in the industry. Then they go further. On the road side in South Africa, a big problem, again, I'm going to say this on the road side, one of our glaringly obvious problems is that from the bottom, there is very little coming through from the bottom. And I'm concerned that in 10 to 15 years' time from now, if we think it's bad now,
what are we going to be like that? Yeah. Well, we'll have to watch it over time. And when we're sitting on our retirement homes, on our rocking chairs, racing each other around the old age home, we can look back and say, yep, we were right about this, or nope, we were wrong. But anyway. But
before we go and leave it on there on a negative note, and I was going to go, oh, shit, it's all doom and gloom. There is a way, and there is something that we can remedy this with. We live in Johannesburg. We both have kids. You wouldn't want to send Liam to a race, mass participation fund ride, and say, okay, Liam's a bit older now, but backtracking 4 years ago. Okay, son, you jump in with this group, follow that guy with the red jersey. If you see a guy with a flag, turn left and right. You go disappear for 2 hours and you come back. I'll be waiting here. No parents in their right mind's going to feel happy doing that.
Yeah, I go riding as well.
Oh, there you go.
Leave my eyeballs just to hang on to the back of the bunch. Yeah, no, it is. It's a very dangerous environment for road cycling.
Yeah, but there are things in place that we can at least try and help remedy that in our own little way.
Yeah. So I think the question I was asking was around the bigger cycling South Africa, South African cycling strategy game plan. Is there anything obvious, or were we there just to pitch up and tick the list that we send some riders to it? My feeling on it looked a bit like that, but I'm uneducated. I don't know exactly what the game plan was. I didn't know how it was supposed to be written. I looked at all the riders in general. It seemed to be a case of stay in there as long as you can. That's what I saw. I didn't watch every single race. I did have moments with riders where I was going, geez, that's pretty impressive. Like, I'm digging that. I like that experience. I like what I saw. The results of someone like Ashley, I think she was 9th. That's insanely good. Like, that's 29th.
Yeah.
Okay, 29th. And I think at one stage she was way up there, and it was Kim LaCourt, who's not South African. She was 8th.
Yeah, Kim was up there.
She was 8th. Yeah, and some people say we don't have the number of riders to compete, and then you go, well, Kim LaCourte was there on her own. I mean, I think she had another rider in the mix with her, but that rider wasn't anyone who could
Yeah.
contribute to her race. She raced it. So my next question, looking at the start list, who came to race with intent and who looked like they were there simply to survive? And maybe that opens up the answers for you to be able to give us a rundown across the different riders. And I know this analysis you've done, you've looked at it, you've watched it, you've always got an opinion on it and a very valid opinion. So who was there to race? They came out guns blazing, going, I don't care who's next to me, I'm going to give it a go. And who went there going, oh my word, look at these people, what excuses can I line up already?
I think I was chatting to you last week or the week before that, and you said, as a coach, you tell riders you want to get on the start line and you want to be able to give 100% the best of yourself, not be worried about who you're racing against and who you're surrounded by, but give
Right.
100% of yourself. Now, you have to have a lot of self-confidence to be able to give 100% of yourself, not go there and win because everybody wants to win. And it's an unrealistic goal to say, I will win. That's a lucky guess.
Mm.
If you look at the riders that performed, perform is a relative term. Perform is delivering good performances, not necessarily massive results. Look at a woman like Ashley. She's done it before many, many times. She went there, she prepared. Did she give 100% of herself? In the day, I think that she did, but that comes with confidence of being in that position many, many times. Was it a perfect race for her? I think she would like to have done a little bit better.
Yeah, I
Looking
picked
at
that up
going across,
interviews and comments
yeah,
afterwards. It's like a list
she
of
wasn't.
I don't want to say it out of turn, but it's almost like there's a list of reasons why it didn't work out, and as
Yeah,
opposed to yeah, like what positives came out of this thing.
and particularly in the road race. I mean, Ashley, I think Ashley's a world class rider. She's always going to be there, and she delivered well. Sonara, I believe she was sick going into the event. Timing. You fly, you pick up an illness, and it just didn't work out for you. Maddie also had a couple of issues along the way. She's just fresh off an injury and coming back, trying to get on an upward trajectory. Like Sonara and Maddie, they have at least been racing internationally, so they've got an idea of what they are getting into. If I look at the under 23 women, it's very difficult to go to an event like that if you aren't competing on a regular basis with riders that are competing at that level. If you're coming from where we live and go there, you are on the back foot. That's it. That is what it is. Sonika has raced. Sonika Klopper, the under 23 lady. She has spent time racing abroad the last 2 seasons. She's back here now. Yeah, so she went there. Fortunately, had a DNF. Looking at the junior ladies, we spoke about this before, and I said this is going to be a difficult one for me to be politically correct, but I'm going to call it what it is. The level of women's cycling in South Africa is poor. The level is not good. Elite ladies went to go race in Windhoek a couple of months ago in general classification. The African woman beat them and beat them properly. And I think
Slow.
Paxlaw. Then I think if you go look, that sort of mental approach has filtered down to the junior ladies. I mean, if you have a junior ladies race any day of the week, you're not going to get many junior ladies, if any. And competition breeds competition. If you have more, the level is going to rise. If you only got 4, 5, or 6, the level is always going to remain low. So I think Megan and Aaron went there. I think they were already going to be at a disadvantage because if you aren't racing in that environment, it's going to be difficult. And I know it must be nerve-wracking for the girls to get there. You look around you, and I mean, come on, these girls are clever. They know what they're getting into. Were they
We've
able
spoken,
to were
we've
they
spoken
able to
about yeah, carry on.
were they able to deliver and give the best of themselves that they could on that day? I think they will be able to once tell us the answer. Were they able to deliver the best that they could in that environment?
It's again we say this and we said it many times over. for the ladies to get the opportunity to learn how to race at that level, they need to be racing with the men. It's the only way in South Africa they're going to get the opportunity to stack up against people who race elbow to elbow. And those ladies internationally are racing elbow to elbow. They're not scared. They're not giving each other nice spaces and holding their line and all that. These ladies, when it comes to those big races, they are flat out
Yep.
focused. And it's
Yep.
a big shock for our riders. It is a very big shock when they
100%.
get there and suddenly they got these people just pushing them all over the place, and the aggression and the shouting and the harassment and the intimidation and everything else that goes on with it. And yeah, there may be people who go, I got bullied. No, well, maybe.
Yep.
No, you just weren't prepared. You weren't prepared for
Yeah.
it. And, maybe Sonica, good rider. She has raced a bit internationally. Let's see, Nadine Visser was in that list as well. I don't know whether she raced, but as far as the showing goes for South Africa, if it weren't for the team manager in the car putting some social media out there, we wouldn't have seen anything of South Africa. Nothing.
Yeah. So it's easy to throw stones and throw jabs and say this and that and you this and you that. Any idiot in the world can do that. It's easy.
Yeah.
But the difference is,
Including me.
what are you going to do? And me. What are we going to do about it? That's the biggest thing. I think all of us as a cycling community, I'm talking to everyone who's listening here, we need to make more things happen because our racing is not in a good state in Cape Town and in Johannesburg. In Cape Town, they've had a serious drought of racing there of late. And I think
Yeah.
we need to almost go back a step or two and start from the bottom and build the racing culture and give a platform for our 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old girls to grow up in a culture of racing. When they do go to events like this, they are a lot more upskilled. You can't
Yeah.
expect them to race 10 races in a year from January to now, then go to World Champs and expect to perform. You can't do that.
Yeah.
No
It's
ways.
not going to happen. So my next question then to you is, were there standout moments or riders who truly punched above their weight? I mentioned I enjoyed, and I only would have got the story again because of watching the social media from inside the South African team car. And that was one where you have to have known it was there. It wasn't
Yep.
something being broadcast or anything like that. But it was like a blank kick. I enjoyed the way he raced. I did enjoy the way that Byron Munton raced. He was quite clever sitting on that wheel of that train of Slovenia. Yeah, it is. Tadej Pogacar's team. He sat there. He knew his strategy. He put his place in, and he fought for it. And yeah, he struggled when the shit really hit the fan, but a good result nonetheless. So those were my two sort of big standout ones. Jeremy, you've done some more work on this, and you mentioned the junior boys and how they've done. What are your big standouts for this Full Champs?
Well, big standout for me is a South African, but he's not racing for South Africa. It's Nicholas van der Merwe. The time trial, he ran 13th. And in the road race, animated the race was in the break for a large chunk of the race. Yeah, we have spoken about him a lot. He does work really hard. He's got 100% commitment from him and his family. And there's got to be a stand-up performance. And Josh Johnson in the road race, I watched that junior road race. Very, very good performance. Just at the end, I think it got a little bit too long for him. He does have another year to grow into that role. I think next year is looking good for him. And also the under 23s playing kick. If you had a photograph of the under 23s lining up, you got Pedro Krauser, Josh Knight, Warren Moorman, and Blaine Kick. You look at that and go, well, I know automatically off the bat the one guy in that lineup who's going to find the circuit the hardest. You think it would be Blaine because Blaine's the biggest guy. In the end, at the end of the race, he was the one that actually performed very well. But with that being said, in the time trial, you got to give it to Pedri and to Josh. Pedri ran 19th in the time trial. Josh ran 23rd. Very, very good performances.
Yeah, they were good performances. Just going back to the road race, the strategy and the mental approach to positioning it's amazing what happens with a rider when they go with a positive mindset. And quite often, I found this as a strategy to helping youngsters who think that they cannot overcome an obstacle. They think that someone's too strong. Is you give them a shorter goal and you say, cool, the first 15 kilometers, I want you to get off the front. Like, that's it. I just want you to get off the front. And the mental positioning of going off the front for a little bit, they like push themselves to their limit. But when the rest come back to them, those other guys come back going, geez, I've got to be careful of this guy because he's obviously super strong. And it changes, it shifts that perspective up a level. And Blaine seemed to be in that road race. He seemed to be racing on the front or near the front. I would have liked to have seen him go off the front. I think that would have been cool, racing like the junior men. Maybe there's a little bit of a feeling like a slightly outclassed by the rest of the riders, but I don't think the South Africans should feel that. These guys, our riders are properly good. We do have good riders. And when they get their confidence, and we've seen it with Blaine, his results are getting better and better and better as his confidence develops. And they just need that confidence to know, go for it. You know, what's there to lose? You can finish 57th at World Champs or and be unnoticed, or you can finish 65th and be noticed. And what does that mean? There's points up for grabs. On your CV, it's lucky to say you finished 57th or 67th. Who knows? But you need to be noticed. You definitely need to be noticed.
Well, I think Blaine, we've spoken about him almost weekly. I think we have every Monday.
Every week,
recap.
he gives us news all the time.
Races. He's in the circuit races. He's been racing that style of racing all year, and he's been performing. His confidence is good. I mean, there were 140 starters in the under 23 men road race, 54 finishes, and he came in at 38th. Now, we often say this, but we'll go, it's 38th. What's so great about that? But the fact that you got 140 starters, only 54 finished, and he finished 38th, that's a significant performance. And you said it now. Confidence, positive attitude, positive approach. For me, that summed up what can be done if you believe and you drive towards it. So yeah, Blaine, very, very good performance. Very good.
Yeah. And I suppose maybe it's a little bit easier for him because he is a big guy, he's a strong guy. He's got a good sense of humor. He doesn't mind having to go elbow to elbow with the guys. So maybe it was easier for him to sit in that bunch at the front. In the same race, watching the coverage, every time they went to the camera at the back of the bunch, they were our South Africans. And not an ideal position to be in. But like you said it to me, you're going, well, have you got any idea how hard it is in that bunch? And I said, well, I've got no idea. But I do know that sitting at the back is not a good idea. Like that's, especially on a course with tight turns and cobbles and steep climbs with accelerations and changes of pace. You need to get up as close to front as you possibly can. Blaine did that for that road race. And we saw our South Africans elasticate off the back in that under 23, having to close the gap. You can only do that so many times, and then you're in trouble.
We were actually on the phone watching the race, the under 23 men's race. And you said two guys were at the back, on, off, move up 3-4 places, go straight to the back. And I'm going to hazard a guess here that we saw Blaine was always 20 or 30 positions in front of those two riders at the back. And I think it's the fact that he's been exposed to a lot of racing with that type of style. And he's a little bit more versed in that type of tactic and skill. And he managed it better. Now, not to say that he's physically better than the other two guys, but that race skill and craft, I think, definitely played in his favor there.
Yeah. No, it did, and it was interesting to watch the difference in positioning and how it played out. And when the split happened, he was further up the field, so he was able to go with the move, and he didn't have to. Like I say, I wasn't in the race. I don't know how hard it really was. I mean, it looked intensely difficult. Everyone complained about how hard that circuit was, how the temperature conditions were difficult, but he raced it in a good position. And And then later on, when it did split, he was at the front trying to get the Americans, the French, the British, Aussies to work with him to try and close the gap. And he did that the whole way to the finish line. We don't see that in the coverage, but we got to see that from the team car perspective. Yeah, I thought he did really well. Any others that you'd like to point out as like good performances out there, positive performances?
Like if I have a look here, Blaine 38th in the road race, Josh 35th in the road race, but he was right up there. Last lap, had his issues, bombed out there. The time trial, we had Pedri 19th under 23 men, Josh Dyke 23rd under 23 men, Byron Munton 20th in the elite men. I think Byron in the time trial, what's that saying? Punched above his weight. Also picking up on the socials, he had a bit of a tooth issue going into that, so it couldn't have made it much easier than what a time trial already is. Yeah,
we seem to have a fair number of those health issues coming up amongst the riders, I've got to say.
Yeah, when you travel, not least when you travel, toothache happens, sore eyes happen, you break your glasses sometimes. These things happen.
Yeah.
But I just think it was, from my side, it was clear as daylight. You can see the riders that are abroad racing at a top level and then going towards the ones who can perform, and then the riders that are based in South Africa who went over there who didn't perform as well as what our international South Africans performed.
Yeah,
and
definitely did stand out there. Okay,
I just want to elaborate on one more thing here. Now, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would estimate each rider would have had to have contributed towards this overall experience for them to be there for that week and a half or however long it was, in the region of 60 to 80,000 rand. I always have advocated this, and I always will advocate this. If you are a junior rider, I would rather take that money and put it towards an extended trip on a European campaign, Australian, wherever you decide you want to go. You get more bang for your buck, and you will learn a lot more. If you are just racing in South Africa and it's not a timed event where you can compare yourself to international competition, and just because you won national championships, don't think you're going to go to world champs now and get on the podium. It doesn't work that way. Take that 60, 80,000 rand, put it towards an extended trip and go get more bang for your buck, more exposure, more experience, and see what the sport of bike racing is really about.
Yeah, I think that lines up to my bigger question is, did we have a lot of riders that went going, just this is so cool, I made selection where I'm going to world champs, and they were unprepared. And when I say unprepared, is it their fault or not? I don't know. You always got to take responsibility as an individual. But was it the best thing, the teams we sent? How many of those riders got lapped and spat out quickly? Did it do good for us as a country? Did it set the example? These types of questions that don't have absolute answers. They have thought processes that we need to stimulate and questions that we need to answer. So going around that, on the flip side, did you notice riders who seem to arrive with excuses ready before they even clipped in? This is where
I think
political correctness comes in.
I'm going to go back to what you said to me a week ago, which you told one of your athletes, and it really stood out. And I thought, shit, that's actually a very, very good analogy. You want to get on the start line and have a calm mind, or be in the mindset of that I'm going to give 100% of myself in this race so that I can deliver the best that I can possibly deliver, irrespective of result. If I win, fantastic. If I finish 20th and I gave the best that I could on that day, that's fantastic. I'm here to give the best that I can. Were there riders that tick that box? I think yes.
Progressed.
Yes, then you progressed. Were there riders that didn't tick that box? Yes, there's some work to be done. Physically, the physiological training of it, that can be done. But the mental approach, the mental aspect, is there work to be done? Yes.
And back at an overall country strategy, I don't know if there was a strategy, if there's a guideline. Belgium had a strategy. You could see it clear as day. They had strategies. Some days it worked, some days it didn't. But they had a strategy and they pulled it off. Did we have a strategy that's the question I'm asking overall is what would, like, looking at South Africa, Team South Africa, what was our strategy? A bunch of individuals all doing the best they can for their own purpose? Or
I think
was it a South African effort?
what I'm going to say now is a reality, and this will always be a part of it. Steve, you and I are going to World Champs. You have to find 80,000 rand to pay your way, and I have to find 80,000 rand to pay my way. Now you get some team or a team manager that comes in and says, Steve, you have to pay for Jeremy because Jeremy won SA Champs. Are you going to go, yes, like is the 80,000 rand that I found to give myself an opportunity to be at this race, and I'm going to throw it all away to support Jeremy and vice versa? That is always going to be in the back of people's heads.
No.
That is what it is.
So that brings up the question of the psychology of the South African rider. The South African rider, are they taught that the team is bigger? Like you take it to Springboks. No player is bigger than the Springboks. Would you say the same applies to our psychology of cycling in South Africa? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say our riders think they're bigger than the South African cycling team. And I say that, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of responses to this one, but we don't have this all for one and one for all, because if we did, we would have seen that team come together and the guys looking after each other despite the amount of money they pay. They would be making that commitment. Like, what would it have looked like if our riders have decided lap 2, we're going to go to the front as a team and we're going to team time trial and control the pace? Could they do it at lap 2? They were on the back of the bunch. They're still there. Could they get to the front if they're on the back? Yes, they can. Absolutely. And if they'd made that concerted effort to say, we're going to do a showing for South Africa, our job is to learn from this. We're going to get better so that next World Champs, we're going to do this for a lap longer. Like, that's a strategy. That's a game plan over time. We don't have a game plan. As far as I saw, each individual for their own, doing what they could at that moment in time. Does it play out well for us? I don't know. We seem to have been doing it for years on end. Do we have the leadership? Do we have the hierarchical control? Do we have the shared vision? I don't think we do. I don't see it. Difficult way.
No. When you go to World Champs, it is, yes, every man for his own. Everybody will help each other where they can and how they can, but at the end of the day, it is each person to his own. We have spoken about this on quite a. Yeah.
I'm gonna counter you and say that Slovenia, they had one rider.
Yep.
They had one rider. They put their team on the front and they sat on the front and they controlled that elite men's race. Was it junior men? Belgium had a strategy. They played out that strategy. It didn't work out for them, but they played their strategy. They were the riders that were sacrificed, under 23. They were sacrificed for that purpose, and that's why they get the exposure. Who were the noticed nations in the race? Canada was pretty good. Italy here and there, France here and there, the big nations. South Africa, I noticed at the back of the field. That's what I noticed.
Well,
I noticed that was what I generally noticed.
I want to backtrack and go back to your example of Slovenia. Now, all of those riders are established pros. They're earning the salaries, they're riding for the teams, they're getting exposure to all those races. They aren't going to World Champs to use it as an opportunity to try and get onto another team. They are established already. And if you go there, if you take money out of all of it, they're going there for a bigger cause, Tadej Pogacar. Worlds for them is not a springboard to potentially catch the eye of an agent. Whereas our South African riders, that is the case. They're going there to try and deliver a performance and hopefully catch the eye of somebody, and then that can give them or offer them an opportunity for something bigger than what where they currently are at. So when
my counter to that is to say, well, if the Slovenians rode with the same mindset as the South Africans, what would it have looked like?
The result would have been the same. Pogacar still would have clubbed everybody.
Pogacar would have, but would Slovenia have looked as good? We don't have a Pogacar. We don't have an Evenepoel.
No,
So what's our next strategy, and where's that centralized game plan? Is there a centralized game plan? I don't think there is. I think
no,
that's the point I'm making, is there's no
yeah,
strategic approach to this, barring the individual wanting to do what they need to do. And there's a statement that says a tail wags a dog. And if you've got a bunch of tails and they're all wagging the dog with their own strategies and their own game plans, and you haven't got centralization, you're never going to be able to take on nations like Slovenia and
no,
those bigger countries, because it takes so much more than the money you're putting into it. It's a culture shift. Like you can have a strategy, but if your culture is not good, you're not going to get to that top end. I brought up mountain biking world
but
champs. We had 2 riders who achieved medals. The rest of them, similar result to road world champs, that like mid to low end of the field finishes, which is still
yeah,
incredible. It's incredible, but it's not up there at the top end. And do we have a guiding strategy? Do we have something for these riders to work on to get better as a country? You don't. I'm going to go back to rugby as an example. What makes a Springbok rugby player? It's not that they're physiologically bigger. They're not bigger. They're not bigger than most nations. Most nations are very similar in size. They're not stronger. Peak power output, exactly the same across all those athletes, across all the different nations. The culture, the
yeah,
contribution to the bigger picture makes a difference. And I'm always a big fan of get the culture right and everyone will contribute to the big picture.
yeah,
If it's always for a bunch of individuals, if our rugby team was a bunch of individuals looking for glory for themselves, we'd be nowhere. We'd be nowhere. It eats a team. So we're even one step below that, because it's not like we've got a bunch of egotistical cyclists. We've got a bunch of really nice, really talented cyclists. But is there the opportunity for the bigger picture, the bigger team to get those results out there if we don't put a strategy in place? And I think I'm going to stop moaning about it now. But I think we need a game plan. We need a game plan that everyone going to World Champs needs to know that there is going to be a bit of teamwork. There's going to be a bit of showing up as a team South Africa. And we need to have pride in that role, in that position. We need to be out there showing off. We're not just lucky to be here, or we were good in a little pond back in South Africa and that's how we qualified. We're actually there to show up. We're trickers to the sea. We're going to throw a few big punches at whoever's standing in front of us.
how can we change this? How can we change the way it is now? And the big word, and this word has multiple different facets to it, but it is the culture. And what does that mean?
It's culture.
It's a culture of team sports, and it's the culture of bike racing. And South Africa, or a large majority of our younger riders, when I say younger, you and I are old guys. Younger riders is 30 and below.
Older.
There's a lot of young men and women that have taken it upon themselves. They are chasing their dream abroad individually by themselves, because if you don't do it by yourself and you try and rely on someone else, you're going to fall by the wayside and let nothing happen. And if there is a culture of a bike racing culture, especially like in Joburg, where we live, if you had a bike racing culture, a bike racing community, I'm unashamedly, I am biased towards a circuit racing, criterium racing. This is the type of thing that's going to change South African cycling, for the simple fact of you're going to get more people involved, more teams involved, more different characters involved. And through that continual racing and continual exposure to each other, that's how you learn, grow, and develop. But
that requires a strategy. That requires some coordination from the top. And I'm not sure if we have that coordination. There's a lot of that. Listen, at cycling South Africa, there's a lot of things that are going nicely. Like there is that pivot to deal with the problem of road racing, and criterium racing seems to be getting a lot of support. And we've got amazing teams within the mix, like the Fly Collective. Their culture, I love the culture of what they do. And they did a heritage ride from their shop the other day. 40, 50 riders going out together, and they're the pros looking after all the rest of their community. It's awesome. Senelo. I was corrected the other day, not Senelo. They also got a great culture to what they do. And it's one of, you can see it works there. It's like one of us is going to get on the podium. That's it. That's their
Yeah,
mindset. Like get a rider up there. And you can see it in and we saw it in provincial champs as well. They were the aggressor in the race. They went one at a
yeah,
time. One rider at a time was always in a move. And they always covered every single move. And the end of it, they ended up with two riders, first and second,
yeah,
because of that strategy. But that requires not letting riders ride the race they want to. They need to ride the race the group needs you to race. And that's a
yeah,
culture. Like you have to be mindset, you've raced at that level. You've raced in teams that have done that in the past. And it makes a big difference when you're in a team that, every single one of your riders is going to try hard, and every single one of your riders, if you end up in the breakaway, is going to work for you. And if you
yeah,
don't end up in the breakaway, your teammates up the road, you're going to do the work to back your teammate. That's a
yeah.
culture. And South Africa needs it. I was going to ask about big match temperament on this one as well, and what it means to cycling and cycling South Africa. And it's an indicator of who's going to survive, who's going to thrive, who's going to be spat out the back. An indicator. It doesn't mean it's absolutely the indicator.
Yeah.
Like, here's a couple of questions for you. I'm going to shoot all three at you. In cycling, BMT often decides who thrives and who cracks. Did you see evidence of that in how riders handled the pressure? Number one. Number two, how does big match temperament differ before the race versus after the race when the reality of the results sink in? And three, can South African riders learn resilience and big match temperament, or is it something you either have or don't?
Well, big match temperament, we've touched on it a few times today. On the start line, are you in a calm mind space to deliver the best that you can in that day? If you deliver the best that you can and you win, yes, it's great. If you deliver the best that you can and you run 38th, that's great, but that's all that you could give. If you finish the race or withdraw from the race and you go, yes, shit, I didn't do as well as what I could have, then your big match temperament needs a bit of attention. I think we spoke about that a lot today, and that ticks that box for me. And with
Yeah.
examples of
And
it
it is,
on both ends of the spectrum, 100%. There were riders that I think punched above their weight. Yes. There were riders that punched below their weight. Yes.
yeah. So looking at the systems and pathways going forward, and maybe this is where we start to play out, is there a game plan there? Maybe someone at Cycling South Africa has a game plan. They could share it with us. It'll be great to have this discussion sometime. But a couple of questions. I'm going to shoot these through to you as well. So let's frame the opportunity to discuss it. Based on what we saw, is there a proper pathway for South African riders to be better prepared for international level racing? Question one. Question two, where are the gaps? Coaching, competition exposure, mental preparation, or just funding and opportunity? Question three, what lessons should riders and management take from this event to avoid repeating the same mistakes? Not to say that any rider was just a mistake, but we always got to look to improve. And the fourth question, rounding it off, do you think we need to rethink how we select and support riders for these events?
Question one. Based on what we saw, is there a pathway for South African riders to better be prepared for international level of racing? I think that question has been partially answered by the junior riders this year. There is a strong contingent of juniors that have been coming through for the last year or two, and this year they being the riders and their parents and their families have made opportunities happen for them, and the riders have stepped up internationally, and these riders have got good results. They've learned lessons. They've been knocking on the doors. So a pathway is being forged through the group of juniors and the parents around that, and the guys have done very well. So hopefully our under 13s, under 15s, under 17s can look up at this and go, okay, what are they doing right? How can we start replicating that and start moving in the right direction?
Yeah.
Then
Okay.
question number
So
two, where are the gaps?
next one. Yeah.
Where are the gaps? Coaching, competition exposure, mental preparation, or just funding and opportunity? If, as it stands right now, if a big corporate come in and say, here's 100 million to go towards whoever, cycling organization, or whatever it is, as it stands now, right now, today is the 30th of September, you will, unless the culture changes, And if you had to carry on doing what you're doing now, bar a couple of individuals, it would not change. You will create a group of slow and entitled riders. That's just my opinion. There needs to be a culture change. What do I mean by that? We've touched on that earlier. On the road side, the road racing culture is piss poor. Everyone gets excited. 100K fun ride. What do you learn there? It's like for the pros. They can go and make a bit of bucks, and the social media makes the sponsors happy. Cool. You can always find a positive in an opportunity. If you go to the right Joburg, wow, you win 200 grand. Geez, that's fantastic for a rider. If you win that, yes, it's the flipping best race under the sun. But if you take a step back and look at it holistically, 100K fun ride does not cut it. You are not going to improve the level of bike racing. And here I'm talking specifically under 15 or 17 junior, those who want to compete abroad. You're not going to improve the opportunities by doing 100K fun ride and thinking this is the biggest thing. The culture of bike racing needs to be revived. There needs to be more opportunities to race, if that answers the question.
Where does that come from, though? It's like those opportunities to race.
Where does it come from? Very simple. Clubs, individuals, start racing in your community. Get the racing culture going. Get the mass participation, fun ride culture. It does play a significant part inside the overall picture of South African cycling, and it must stay, and it's fantastic. But the culture of bike racing cannot keep on going on that path. The individuals that have come through South African cycling over the last 20 years have not been a result of that shit system. It's been a result because they've been strong in their head and they've made opportunities happen. They furthered themselves a lot from that. If we think that 100K fun ride culture is going to make world champions, you're gravely wrong. And the culture needs to start from the bottom. Clubs, grow, make local racing, promote the sport of bike racing.
Yeah. I do see potential future coming through with school cycling. And we've made that connection for SA Crit Champs. We've got the school cycling guys coming through, and they send their invites out to the schools to field teams to race at the provincial champs. A very different thing to what happens at, say, SA Crit Champs. So the same weekend, because we put the invite out for individuals to enter at SA Crit Champs. There's that slight nuance difference. Our club culture does need to be stronger. We do need to have, the same day you had your crit team time trial, there was the Alchemy team time trial in the south of Joburg. And one of the guys phoned me and said he just did it. I did it last year and I had a great time and it was really good. And they said, why doesn't anyone know it's there? And I go, but as far as I know, they didn't register it as an event. It wasn't. They didn't comply with any of the CSA requirements on it. So is it a good thing to go and support that? Should support each other, but also clubs need to have some sense of responsibility to comply with the bigger picture as well. And at the moment, I still think we've got a bunch of clubs who don't want to follow a lot of these rules. Your events at the moment, you have to comply with JOC. You have to make sure all the boxes are ticked. You have to get approvals from everyone, sanctioning and everything else. And then it can go onto a calendar that everyone can access, everyone can see, and then we can coordinate instead of having 2 team time trials on the same day. That shouldn't have happened. We should have had 2 events in separate times that people could have done one after the other to get better and better at what they needed to do. And team time trial, I love it. I think team time trial, lap-based racing, all awesome, all fit in well. Anyway, Jeremy, on to my last 2 questions. These are the closing thoughts. And you've got those questions as well. My first one of them, if you could give one message directly to South African riders after this event, what would it be? Number 2, what gives you hope about the future of South African cycling, road and track alike?
First question, messages to the riders that the event didn't go as what they'd hoped for, and this was one of the first few international races. Don't get despondent. In any situation, wherever you go, you're moving up a ladder, you're going to get a bloody nose along the way. You are going to, and you're going to get many bloody noses. That's just the way it is, whether life, bike racing, whatever it is. The difference between the guys or the riders who make it or don't make it is the one who gets a bloody nose, picks himself up, learns from it, and applies what they've learned and keeps on moving forward. It's the person who gets a bloody nose, feels sorry for themselves, and goes back into the hole and goes and finds another wave that's a bit softer. Those people never make it. So if you didn't go as well as what you had hoped, lesson learned, go back home, take it in, train harder, train with more intensity, train with more focus, look at a bigger picture. And the riders that did well, well done. Your hard work is showing off. Your hard work is coming together. Same principle as when you got the riders who got a bloody nose, pick yourself up, learn. You have not arrived yet. And even when you have arrived, like Tadej Pogacar, don't think, oh, well, here we go, here I am. Get back on, keep moving forward, keep pressing. Good things will come. The only time you guarantee to fail and you guarantee to not do well is when you stop. If you keep on moving forward, you're still in the game.
I'm going to try to round it off this way, and I think you've just said it in a few more words than I would. No excuses, only lessons.
Yep.
That's my statement for everyone. Every single event is a lesson to learn. Is World Champs a place to be learning lessons? Well, every single race should be a place to learn a lesson. But you want to, hopefully a World Champs is something where all the lessons are done and you're onto final application. So yeah, that'll be mine. No excuses, only lessons. And I'm hoping that we come out of this event, and I'm hoping CSA is going to look at it and go, cool, well, what did we learn from it? And they're going to start applying some strategies, and maybe we're going to work on the culture of our guys. I thought they looked cool. I thought they acted really well. I thought they interacted with people well. I liked our team manager and his enthusiasm he brought to everything. He brought a positive angle all the time. He gave us access to the inside of Team South Africa, which was quite unique. We've never had that before. And maybe we actually need to get him onto a call like this at some point. We have a chat about the experience, about what happened. We get the inside line.
Yeah. One more thing here. The question is, what gives you hope in the future of South African road and track cycling? I've got two examples here. One was the junior performance at Road Champs, our South African, non-South African, and our 3 South African junior men, Matthew Horter, Sander Rasmus, and Josh Johnson. All of those boys have been moving forward and making things happen, and they are being represented, and they are moving forward. And that gives me hope. The next one is, if I backtrack to Gauteng Criterium Champs 2 weekends ago, and I probably am a bit biased here, but fuck it, I know it's not wrong. There were 9 under 17 girls, 10 under 17 boys, and the 15s also like 10 and 10. That for me gives me hope that things are kind of moving forward. And from Gauteng Champs 2 weekends ago, that was for me was the highlight. That always gives the Oak a little bit more oomph, because it's not easy doing all these things that you and I both do. It is taxing. And when you see images like that, then you go, yeah, things are okay. It is moving forward, little bit by little bit by little bit.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm very positive
one more name
about what's going forward.
One more name I want to throw into the mix of those juniors is our Namibian Roger Surin, who did so well at the mountain biking World Champs and road. He ended up 44th. So it was between Nicholas van der Merwe and who was our next South African rider down there, Sander Rasmus in 54th.
Sander, yeah. Sander match was closer.
Yeah, it was really cool to see them in there. And, getting finishes when a lot of the field were lapped. That's pretty impressive overall. Anyway, there's one other rider I would like to just mention who's got nothing to do with road champs, and that we have a new world champion in the junior women's category for Xterra. That was Nadia van Beek. Yeah. So over the weekend, just so if anyone doesn't know, Nadia van Beek won the junior ladies Xterra World Championships, and really cool to have. She is a a rider of fair potential. I'm going to say fair potential because I think she could go any direction she wants to. She does her triathlon, she does her swimming, she does her running, she does her cycling, she does her mountain biking. And coming together in an event like Xterra World Champs, I think they're in Switzerland, and she took the win. So well done to her. Anyway, that wraps up the conversation. Jeremy, always good to chat to you. I appreciate your insights. And guys, if anybody's got comments on that, you absolutely agree, absolutely disagree, put them down below. We'll take a look at it. Always good to have the interaction. And I think we need our team manager from Team South Africa on a session at some point when he's back. He's so enthusiastic about South African cycling and all the riders individually. And he did I thought, a brilliant job. So maybe, Jeremy, you can organize that one.
Yeah, keep Brendan. And I just noticed now I'm wearing this T-shirt, and it was just by luck this morning. I grabbed it out on the top of the pile in the cupboard. But that for me sums it up. The South African team, guys, be lekker. Keep on doing what you're doing. Things will change and things will get better.
I say
100%.
100% agree.
Oh, good timing.
Cheers, well, cheers,
Steve.
Thanks, and
cheers,
thanks, everyone. And well done to all our riders. Well done, Team South Africa. And we look forward to cheering you on. Guys, keep growing, keep working, keep staying on top of it.
Cheers. Bye.